On this episode of Bite Sized, we are watching and discussing the 56th scene of the movie Twilight. For those of you watching along at home, that's from 129:07 to 131:18. And now, on to the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bite Sized. For those of you joining for the first time, here's what's going on. My name's Ben. I am your host. I'm watching the movie Twilight one scene at a time with a different guest every week. I find a guest to come to my apartment or come to my Zoom call. I send them 30 seconds to 3 minutes of the movie Twilight, and then we talk about it for a half hour. Speaking of guests, joining me today, I have an actor, comedian, and writer, Hannah Meiji. Welcome to Bite Sized.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to have you on the show because of how you're going to answer the first question. I'm going to start this interview the way I start every interview on the show. That is by asking you, what is your history with the Twilight franchise?
Well, I would like to call myself a super fan.
Okay.
But I didn't read the books, so I fear
Really?
that, yes, well, I grew up dyslexic.
Okay.
So my association with books my whole life hasn't been the most amazing.
Yeah.
But I discovered the movies. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I don't know what happened. I think maybe I got sick when I was like a freshman in high school and I was home from school. And I just watched all the movies back to back, and I fell in love.
Yeah, what year was this?
I have no idea. It was somewhere between like 2015 to 2017.
Okay, so all the movies were like
Yes.
good and out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
And then it just became this tradition of every time I was sick or had extra time on my hands, I would watch all of the movies. So I think I've watched each of them probably around 17 times.
Wow. That's impressive. And also, you've been sick a lot.
I am. I have the immune system of a Victorian child.
Oh, that's not good.
I know. It's sad. I might die young, but it's fine.
Hey, well, at least you get to watch Twilight a lot while you're dying.
That will be my legacy.
Yeah. Do you have like a group of friends that are into Twilight, or is this something you've just sort of done on your own?
It's sort of a solo adventure.
Yeah.
My mom has since sort of been roped into it.
That happens a lot on this show.
Yeah.
A lot of guests have moms that are also into it.
Yes. My mom actually commented, because I visited home recently, just for a few days, got to ground yourself. And we didn't watch Twilight. And my mom brought that up yesterday. She was like, you were home and we didn't watch Twilight.
Wow.
I know. And then I told her I was going to be on this podcast, and she was very excited.
Hello. Yes. Another listener mom.
Yes.
I love it. You watch it like all 5 movies whenever you're back home with her?
Pretty much.
Okay. Nice.
I mean, not all 5 happen, but most of the time it is.
Did she start watching them with you? Were they just sort of on one day and she stuck around? How did she get into them?
She's always hanging out with me.
Yeah.
When I'm home.
Okay.
Yeah, she's around. She's hanging out. I think she didn't pick it. She was just maybe in the room and then got locked in with me.
Sure.
At first, she was against it, though. She was like, this is terrible. And I'm like, yes, once you accept that, the joy can begin.
That's the point.
That is the point.
Right. That is so true. And that is sort of the entire reason this show exists.
Yes. Everybody develops like Stockholm syndrome with the movies.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm a willing victim.
I'm glad to hear you say that, especially on microphone. I'm glad to have you recorded saying that, because I get worried sometimes that Twilight fans will listen to this show that's just kind of me shitting on Twilight for 30 minutes and think that I hate it or something like that. So it's nice every now and then to have a fan come on and be like, this is the intended Twilight experience, basically.
Oh, yeah. It's like watching a slow car crash.
Right. I describe Twilight a lot as like going through your old high school yearbook. Like, you have a lot of fond memories for the things that are going on, but like, what were you doing? Like, what is with that hair?
Yeah, who knows? But you know what? Hags, baby.
What I don't know what that
Have
means.
a great summer.
Have a great summer. I was homeschooled.
Oh
so
my God,
I don't
no
understand.
way.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't understand a lot of your public school jokes. I'm sorry.
Well, half public, half private. Let me just
Oh,
say.
oh,
because
pardon
I grew
me.
up with the dyslexia, I had to go to extra help kid school.
Well, then, let's get into the clip we are talking about today. Edward and Bella finally arrive at the Cullen house, and they talk to some vampires, and then they drive away from the Cullen house. And that's basically an overview of the scene, so let's now get on into it. Bella's old truck with Edward and Bella and Emmett standing in the back pull up to the Cullen house. Just sort of out there in the driveway, which kind of doesn't make sense to me, given that what we see in a little bit, that they have a big fancy garage that they could have pulled into.
No, because they got to go. They can't block that in.
I have the exact opposite thought, which is if you're worried about a vampire jumping out of the woods and attacking you, you should let the truck pull into the garage so you can close the garage door and then she gets out.
That's totally fair, but I don't think they want that rusty old car in their garage.
Also a little
which
bit
is
true.
Pristine.
Yes, it is an immaculate garage, but we'll get there in a second.
Immaculate garage.
First, Edward and Bella walk inside, and we see Carlisle in there with Laurent, who is doesn't get enough to do in this movie or in this scene.
Agreed.
But before he even says anything to anyone, Edward hisses at Laurent. Did you catch that?
Yes.
He hisses like an angry cat.
Wait.
Do they hiss much in the other movies? I don't really remember.
There definitely are moments, particularly when it becomes like a Jets versus the Sharks situation, whenever they're up against like another coven or just like a group of people, that I'll notice like some low squatting, hissing. But this first movie fully takes the cake on that.
And so why do they hiss? I guess because they were humans once, and humans don't hiss at each other like that when they get mad. So clearly something about becoming a vampire. I don't either.
I said I do.
Oh, you do? Oh, I'm so sorry.
When I'm alone, though. Not when I'm around other people.
Well, that's what I'm thinking here is if I saw someone I didn't like, I would not hiss at them. So it's something about becoming a vampire.
Well, maybe he was just clearing his throat.
Okay.
To talk shit.
And that's how he clearly...
What are you doing here?
Okay. That makes it a lot less intimidating.
I also think there's a certain amount of fan service because they're not really like your traditional vampires.
Yeah.
In the sense that no coffins, no bat transformations, which I so wish, but no.
That would be great.
So I feel like the director just you got to hiss a little bit.
Yeah, and it does feel like a classic sort of very old school vampire movie thing to do, where when the vampire needs to be scary, the only thing he can do is show off the fangs. And I guess if you're going to do that sort of lip movement, a hiss is just sort of the natural sound that goes with it, I guess. I don't know, it just doesn't work.
I don't know. It works for me.
I was going to say it doesn't make sense that a sort of moody 18-year-old boy is hissing at people like that. But yes, it does now that I think about it. That's exactly what he would do, I guess. Laurent is talking to Carlisle, and he doesn't really tell us anything we don't already know.
This isn't my fight, and I've grown tired of his games. But he's got unparalleled senses, absolutely lethal. I've never seen anything like him in my 300 years. And the woman, Victoria, don't underestimate her.
I really like Laurent. I think he's a fun, interesting character. He has a lot more personality than a lot of the vampires. He's the only vampire we meet. Him and Alice really are the only ones that seem kind of happy. If you watch the baseball scene through Laurent's eyes, he genuinely
it's a fun game.
He just wants to play baseball and meet some new friends. And you can tell he gets kind of sad that James and Victoria ruin it for him.
Yes. I think Laurent is such a cool cat. His outfits are also amazing.
Yes.
And maybe that's because he was turned in France
300 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why he's such a swanky guy.
He has a little aristocracy in the way he dresses. He has good hair. And again,
charming.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. And I wish he's given more to do in the scene because all he does is tell Carlisle and Edward things that Edward has been telling Bella in the last two scenes.
I've had to fight her kind before, but not easy to kill.
But not impossible. We'll tear them apart and burn the pieces.
I don't relish the thought of killing another creature, even a sadistic one like James.
What if he kills one of us first?
I'm gonna run Bella south. Can you leave the tracker away from here?
No, Edward. James knows you would never leave Bella. He'll follow you.
the Cullens take Bella to the garage where the rest of the movie takes place. And this garage is gorgeous.
It's stunning. It looks like there's Tupperware in the back in the fridge.
There is, yeah, and there's also like something that I thought for a second was in like an espresso maker.
Yes, I thought that too.
And it's also incredibly clean. There's a lot of toolboxes and stuff like that. I'm wondering, is this the actual garage of the house where they shot the place, the house where they did all the filming for this movie?
Or
where did they get this garage?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. It's a big garage. It's like a 3-car garage. All the classic Cullen cars are there. The Volvo, the Jeep.
Is the Volvo in this scene?
Well, no, actually, Edward's Volvo isn't.
Yeah, it's not.
Because his is like silver, right?
Yes.
There's a red car. That's like Rosalie's convertible, right?
Which is insane because they're vampires.
Yeah. Yes. We've talked about this. You are absolutely correct. Why do they own a convertible if A, they can't be in the sun, and B, they live in Forks because it's the rainiest place in the United States?
I don't know.
A convertible is the worst possible choice for both of those things. We see a black car that I'm going to assume is Carlisle's.
Yeah.
And then Emmett's Jeep is there in the background
Of
where
course.
I think Bella's should have been allowed to park. But that's just me. There's a couple vampires talking about what to do. And I think this part of the scene starts with Jasper talking in what I'm pretty sure is his only line in the movie so far.
And it's not really a juicy line.
Emmett has been saying what I have been saying for the last 2 scenes is, why don't they just stop and fight?
Yeah.
Why are they bothering with all this running away business? Especially because I'll skip ahead a little bit in the scene. When Bella is talking to Edward in the car, Bella is worried that she's going to die or whatever. And Edward says,
if anything happens, I swear to God.
Nothing's going to happen. There's 7 of us and there's 2 of them.
And Emmett seems to be agreeing that, like, hey, there's a lot more of us than there are of them. We should just fight them now.
Right.
Carlisle is anti-killing, though, so I guess that's not why they're doing this.
It's kind of exhausting.
Emmett is right, is what I'm saying.
Agree.
I'm on Team Emmett with this one.
Always on Team Emmett.
And he's also the only one that seems to be like, everyone else in the Cullen family at least acts like being a vampire is like some sort of punishment or burden to bear, and Emmett's like the only one who's like, hell yeah, this is awesome.
Which I agree.
Yes.
I feel like I would be like, hell yeah.
Yes,
especially me. I get sick all the time, remember?
Right. Yeah, no, and I can't run fast.
Right.
So like, yeah, if I were turned into a vampire, I'd probably be a little bit more like Emmett was. He wears his baseball hat around everywhere. He's just the coolest of the bunch.
Hell yeah.
Jasper said he's had to fight her kind before. They're not easy to kill. It's unclear what her kind is other than
redheads.
Hey, that is
Viewers
true.
or listeners, for context, I am a redhead.
You are.
And for that reason, I also think I would make a great vampire. Because I think redheads, like, automatically sort of have the coloring and essence that vampires have.
That is true. You have a good explanation for why you're already so pale.
Right.
You were just born that way. What else would make you a good vampire?
I feel like I have pretty sharp teeth.
Okay. Hey, that's pretty good. How do you feel about going out at night?
In the sense that, you know, I live in Chicago and am a woman, not always amazing.
But if you were a vampire,
oh my God,
that's not a problem anymore.
I'd be living my life on the town. Maybe, okay, you might have gotten my one weakness is I do like to go to bed relatively early.
Oh, and you never get to sleep again.
I know. Well, no, that's great.
Oh, interesting.
Because I wouldn't need the rest.
Yeah.
The only reason that I go to sleep early is because I feel like I need rest because I'm a sickly inbred.
A waif.
Yeah.
No, I go to bed because it's fun. That's where I get to sleep. It's great. Edward says his plan is to go south.
I'm gonna run Bella south. Can you leave the tracker away from here?
No, Edward. James knows you would never leave Bella. I'll follow you.
I'll go with Bella. Jasper and I will drive her south.
Which is weird because his plan 2 scenes ago was to go to Vancouver, which is north.
Yep.
So he fully has no idea what he's doing unless his plan is to drive in the opposite direction to try to fake out James and then go. I don't know what his thought is. And again, this is where the Cullen plan really starts to fall apart. The Cullens are not good strategists because Carlisle.
That's so funny because Carlisle is such a sexy name. And Carl.
Apologies to all my Carls
no offense.
out there.
Yeah, Carl's, but Carlisle's cooler.
I mean, it's the first 4 letters of his name, so I guess we can just call him Carl for short. But Carl says,
oh no,
James knows Edward will stay with Bella, so Edward and Bella should split up. I guess the implication there is that he says Alice and Jasper take Bella, and Edward can go with Carlisle in the opposite direction. And that only works. That's only a good plan if they think James is going to follow Edward, which is not what he's been doing. He's following Bella. So why do they need to split Edward and Bella up?
Because the plot of the movie. I mean,
no, that's exactly it.
I just feel like the only way that any of this can be rationalized is just like, we need 20 more minutes of this movie.
Pretty much. Or like, this is what happened in the book.
Right.
And we're sort of beholden to that. Because even like after this conversation, Edward gives Esme and Rosalie 2 of Bella's clothes so that they can have her smell. So if James is completely following Bella's scent here, why does it matter that Edward goes somewhere else?
Also, I'm glad Bella has enough dirty laundry for this to be accomplished.
That is true.
Because I don't think it would work if her clothes were clean, right?
I don't know. I mean, it could be like the detergent as well. And just the general, like when you go over to a friend's house when you're a kid.
And they have a certain
like,
scent.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily bad. It's just like different.
No, but I feel like you want to be as funky as possible.
Okay, you think Bella should do some laps?
I think Bella should have pissed on the clothes.
Okay.
And then maybe it would have deterred him.
That's not the direction I thought you were going. I thought you were going to say she should like bleed. They should like prick her finger and let her bleed a little bit.
Yeah.
'Cause that's
honestly, yes. I do think that would have been better. But, I guess I'm just thinking in terms of real life.
Sure. Well, pricking a finger is honestly probably a lot easier to do on command than pissing. We don't know if Bella has to go right now.
Yeah, she doesn't seem well hydrated.
No, she definitely does not.
She seems so dehydrated the whole movie.
She doesn't have a Hydro Flask or anything like that with her. Rosalie is not happy about any of this. She does not. No. She wants to know, why should she care about this?
Esme, could you put these on so the tracker will pick up?
Fella set.
Why? What is she to me?
Rosalie, Bella is with Edward. She is part of this family now. We protect our family.
I think she's being pretty reasonable. Like, what do you mean she's our family now? Because you have a crush on her?
Right, because have you known her for like a month?
Yeah.
Everyone else is like really jumping into this way faster than Rosalie does.
Unbelievably so.
Yeah.
I think she's completely justified. I mean, Emmett and Rosalie are by far the most reasonable couple in the Cullen fam.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think like in the scenario of my siblings, because I have 4 siblings. If they brought home someone.
Yeah.
And they had been dating for less than a calendar year.
Less than 1 school semester.
Yeah, for real. I would definitely not risk life and limb to protect them.
Now let's flip this around, though. You've been dating someone for less than a school semester. You bring them home because someone is trying to kill that person. Would you expect, how many of your siblings would you expect to help you with your plan to get away from the killer?
0.
Okay.
I mean, unless it was me who was personally in danger.
Yeah, which it's not, to be clear.
Right. It's not. I mean, when you know, I guess.
Yeah.
But I would never expect anyone else in my life to go that far to protect that person.
No, and especially if the plan is, here, put on someone else's jacket and drive in an unspecified direction for a long time, I guess. I also think Rosalie is sort of feeling this, hey, we need a better plan than whatever is going on.
Justice for Rosalie.
Justice for Rosalie.
She's painted to be this really cold, mean girl, and I don't like that. Her hair always looks incredible, though.
Okay, John and I talked about that a lot 2 days ago, about how perfect vampire hair always is, and it's not fair.
But hers in particular is just billowing... crescents.
We've decided that it helps. I talk about this a lot, apparently. We've all agreed that when you become a vampire, your hair stops growing. So once you are there, you can just sort of get it cut perfectly. And then maybe it's not always styled right, but all you have to do is just style it that one way. And it always looks like you just got it cut.
I don't know that I agree with that.
Ooh, interesting.
I do agree with the potential, stoppage of growth.
Yeah.
But I feel like for that reason, vampires should have horrible hair.
Why?
Because they're always flying through the frickin' forest, chasing down things, grappling.
Yes. But I mean, like, if you've had a chance to just like put in some product or conditioner or brush it, whatever, you always have a fresh cut. No, there's never going to be any hair too long or too short.
But what about dead ends?
They're all dead ends because they're dead.
So wouldn't they just have a frizzy mess?
I don't know. Because, again...
Well, this is important to me, and I would like you to know. And you know what my case for this is? Actually,
I'll hear it.
Which is
We're gonna
something...
Yes, we'll have 2 episodes
It's about
in a row.
this scene.
Okay. No, I'm excited about this.
When Edward leans in to
Yeah.
Bella, when Bella is like, oh, if anything... he has the patchiest looking sideburn I've ever seen in my life. It looks horrible.
Oh, I gotta find this.
It's like right in the shot because it's super close in and you basically only see his sideburn and his side profile.
Ooh, boy, you are not wrong about that.
Yeah.
To be fair, those look like the sideburns that I had when I was about that age. Or, well, the age of the character, not the age of Robert Pattinson, the 30-year-old man or
Right.
whatever he was in the filming of this. And I guess that's one of the downsides of never having hair that grows again is that you're just stuck with that.
Right. The patchiness. But I feel like even then, like you could comb through.
Yeah.
I wonder what the gel budget was for this franchise.
Yeah, probably a lot.
Oh my God.
You can't see it, but every vampire has a little travel hairspray with them at all time.
I bet. I mean, Carlisle always has like that swoosh helmet. I just can't imagine how much product that took to perfect in every scene.
And we're pretty sure Rosalie is a wig, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So at least one person is taken care of.
Oh,
there.
and we're not even going to talk about Alice's hair.
What do you want to say about Alice's hair?
I mean, if you want to talk about an unfortunate hairstyle, it's really bad.
Yeah. How would you like it if you had a pixie cut and then could never grow it back out?
Well, here's the thing. Here's a backstory about my life.
Okay.
When I was like 4 or 5, my mom was going through chemo. She's fine now, clearly.
Yeah.
But she had this like real human hair wig that she got, which, if you know, is like very expensive. And I thought it was super ugly. So I took a pair of scissors and I cut it up.
Oh, no.
And that is what this reminds me of.
Yeah, just for reference, I'm showing Meiji a pretty solid, the best shot in this scene anyway of Alice's hair.
She looks like she got electrocuted.
A little bit. It's got a weird amount of like body to it.
Yes.
And like curving upward on the side.
I've heard that this look is called a shixie,
Okay.
like a shaggy pixie.
Okay. I thought Shixie was what you called like a non-Jewish woman.
Shixa. Yeah.
Thank you.
Close.
That's what my wife calls me.
Aw, that's cute. Not a goy toy. That's another
No,
one.
I don't know that I've heard that one. That's a new one for me.
Well, goy and then boy toy.
I call myself a goy a lot, and she calls me that a lot when I recommend any changes to her kugel recipe.
Oh yeah, don't you dare.
So finally, we get to that part that I mentioned earlier, where Bella and Edward are sitting in the car, and this is where you and I probably had our strongest reactions to the scene. And I'm interested to see what yours was because I think it's going to be different from mine. But Bella tells Edward that she's worried that something's going to happen, and Edward's like, "Don't worry, there's 7 of us and there's 2 of them." And he says, "Bella, you are my life now." And then the cars peel out and drive away, perfectly timed together.
Oh my God.
But what was your problem with this conversation?
Well, I mean, first of all, just the entire scene overall, every word that Edward says sounds like he is sharting his pants as he is speaking.
If anything happens, I swear to God.
Nothing's gonna happen. There's 7 of us and there's 2 of them. And when everything's done, I'm gonna come back and get you.
Yeah.
Belle, you are my life now.
Well, you know what that is. That's Robert Pattinson fighting his British accent.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was still playing into like, if he takes too deep of a breath, he can't not bite his girlfriend.
That is also a possibility.
But everything he says and he can't get through a sentence. Dude, time is of the essence. This guy's coming for your girlfriend. If you continue to speak at this pace, she will die.
Yeah. And also, like, Bella, you are my life now. You've known each other, like we said, for less than 1 school semester. It's a little too early to be making those kind of declarations.
Yeah, he's the ultimate simp.
He really is. My big problem with this conversation is Edward straight up tells Bella, there's 7 of us and there's 2 of them, which is what I've been saying. Listeners will know what I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 episodes, which is this is unnecessary. You outnumber these vampires. Just fucking fight them.
Yeah.
But Edward tells Bella, there's 7 of us and there's 2 of them. And they immediately get into cars and split into groups of like 2 or 3 and drive in opposite directions, which completely evens the odds that like all that advantage of 7 versus 2 is completely gone now because of your terrible plan. Stick together. Stay in one. There is safety in numbers, Edward. It's a terrible, I hate it. It makes me so mad.
I agree. The other thing that makes me mad is when Bella is like, if anything happens, I swear to God. Where like I understand she's going through it, but kind of the same thing. Like, why are we wasting time here?
Yeah.
Get the words out, girl.
It doesn't make sense.
I mean, I know like they're trying to depict her as like a nervous, clumsy, quirky girl.
Yeah. But
I just gradually lose patience with her throughout the whole movie about like, what is she trying to say? I fully don't. Okay, maybe this is mean.
Ooh, I'm ready.
But I don't understand how anyone could fall in love with someone who has so little verbal. I can't even get through it, and I'm criticizing her for not being able to speak. But like, she doesn't seem like an engaging person with any thoughts.
No, you're absolutely correct. And you know, that's what some guys are looking for.
And she's beautiful, but I don't think she's hot enough to make up for having no personality.
Interesting. Do you think it's just the way she dresses?
No.
Okay.
I mean, she is. I mean, well, one thing is the actress
Kristen Stewart
has beautiful green eyes, and of course, nothing wrong with brown eyes at all. Let me just say that.
Right.
But I think her features are more striking when she has her natural green eyes.
Yeah.
And Bella Swan she's like bootcut jeans and Converse, like she's just a plain everyday girl.
Right. This is something I've talked about with a few previous guests. And again, if you have your bite-sized bingo card, you can cross off the box that says, we talked about this on a previous episode, but Bella is this sort of unfortunate balancing act where she has to be enough of a character to be the protagonist of your book, and yet she has to be sort of vague and generic enough that a large swath of readers
can identify with her.
Exactly. Can read this or see this and say, she's just like me.
But Edward is such a worldly person. Like, I just can't imagine being satisfied intellectually by someone who has only lived 17, 18 years.
No, I exactly agree. My wife is a big fan of reality shows, and she's watching one now called like Sweethearts or something about that, which is about these like high school seniors who who are in relationships, and you get to wonder if they're going to stay together.
Oh my God.
It's something else. But I see these like 17, 18-year-old kids, and I'm like, no, don't make these decisions now. And like, it's a weird thought to have, but if I were 100 years old like Edward and I met just another 17-year-old, there's no way a 17-year-old would
surrounded by some of the most attractive and intelligent women,
right,
who are vampires.
Yeah.
But I just don't know why. Fate, destiny, whatever.
I guess. And maybe there's the argument to be made that because he was turned into a vampire as a high school senior or whatever, his brain never developed. So he's just sort of stuck with the emotions of a high school teenager, which would suck.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like at some point, even if your brain isn't fully connected to itself, you got to accrue enough knowledge and experiential wisdom for you to make a better decision, as in to not endanger your entire family by having them split up just for this girl. But you know what? Maybe that is a sign of my personal growth.
That is true.
Because when I started watching these movies, I thought it was exceptionally romantic.
Sure.
I had no problem with it. I was fully like, I want this to happen to me. But now where I am in life, I see the flaws.
And I think that's the best way to wrap up this part of the episode. What a beautiful summation of this 2 minutes of movie we just saw.
Yeah.
All right, then let's start to wrap things up. I'll end this with the last question of the interview portion. If you had to give this scene a name, what would it be? And this will also be the name of the episode, so make it good. And you told me you had some options and had been really thinking about this, so it better be extra good.
I have options.
Okay.
So one was one that we said earlier, which was Immaculate Garage.
Immaculate Garage is a pretty good one, yeah.
So good. Another one I was thinking is Patchy-Ass Sideburns.
Patchy-Ass Sideburns, sure.
Another one is Where is Their Volvo?
Okay. That's a fun one.
Yeah, I feel like those are my top 3.
Well, unfortunately, the episode can only have one title.
I think we should go with Patchy-Ass Sideburns.
Patchy-Ass Sideburns it is. Is Patchy-Ass hyphenated? Is it one word? How does that work?
I think it's hyphenated.
Okay, great. It's hyphenated. Patchy-Ass Sideburns is the name of the episode. Hannah Meiji, if listeners liked you and the things you had to say about Twilight and maybe want to follow you on social media or see you perform live comedy here in Chicago, where can they do those kinds of things?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram at Hannah_Meiji. I do lots of stuff around the city. I perform at I.O., I perform at Annoyance at Second City, and at the Revival in Blank the Musical, which is where Ben and I met.
Yes.
So yeah, just follow me on Instagram and you'll be sure to see what I'm doing.
Cool. Spell Meiji for us.
Magy.
And that's also going to be in the description of the episode if you prefer to read it. If you want to follow this show on social media, you can do so at bitesizedpod_ on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, where I post clips of this show. If you want to share it with a friend, that's a great way to bring in new listeners. I also just started a Tumblr for the show where you can see those same clips, and also I'll reblog some stuff and try to be more active there to give you stuff to look at that's just not just stuff from episodes you've already heard. You can follow me, bitesizedpod_ there on Tumblr. If you want to reach out to the show, you can send an email to myfavoritetwilightpodcast.com. All that information and more, such as how to buy a sticker, can be found on twilightpodcast.com, a website that I own and haven't updated recently. Maybe one day I will. Thank you so much to my editor, Ben Oxer, for putting this all together. Thank you to the band Swimwear Department for letting me use their song Mauled to Death as our theme. Give them a listen wherever you listen to music. And that is it. That is the end of this episode. As we always say at the end of every episode,
I love vampires and their nonsensical logic.
I love vampires and their nonsensical logic. See you next time.